Dawn. It's a beautiful song.
Our black history will always be invisible. Only one thing that ever makes sense to me. Our ancestors died for us to live peacefully, brought up in churches to never question things. School teachers teaching the basics of our necessities. History class only speak on segregation and slavery. Let's talk about some deeper things. How Martin had a dream and Malcolm knew there would be no peace. Flipping pages of a book that a white man is paid to proofread. With no real knowledge of how we went down in history. Black Wall Street shifted their energy. Seeing that us blacks could amount to better things. Burned it all down to keep us in captivity. God save our people. God save our people. On your mark, get set. Get set. God save our people. Get set. Went from nooses around our necks and scars all on our back to chokeholds from police that swear to serve and protect. What kind of justice did we get? Oh, Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery was next. They can't breathe. They'll never breathe because of police brutality. Just wrote down as another nigga in our history. Nooses turned into diamond chains, keeping us enslaved with the goal of finding things. Is you working for it the right way? Not shooting your melanin sibling for gunplay? Black on black crime for more of us to die. Y'all niggas are clearly blind. Blind to the progress they programmed since the first projects. Process of elimination, disguised as manipulation. God save our people. God save our people. God save our people. On your mark, get set.
Yeah, Dawn.
God save our people. God save our people. God save our people. On your mark, get set. God save our people. God save our people.
It's a beautiful song right here.
Brothers killing each other with no hesitation. Focused on the clout, a little bit of paper. Not prepared for the reparations of their hatred. One black man dead in the other man cage. Meanwhile, the white man still gets paid. Gets away with vacation days. Our bloodshed is valuable in this country. We are still their property. And they're getting a monopoly. We each have 9 numbers attached to our names. Proof we are still enslaved. Let us step out of line like they say. They shooting us down and expect us to be okay. Hip-hop paved the way. Gave us a voice to say what we gotta say. It don't mean a thing nowadays. Everybody rapping about the wrong things. God save our people. God save our people. God save our people. On your mark, get set. Shooting a brother cause it's gang. Ancestors rolling in their grave. Escape they pain for us to live better days. Black on black crime, millennial genocide. We're a danger to our own kind. Helping the white man complete their mission way before you and I ever existed. It's twisted. We died with pesticides running through our bloodline. Black on black crime is killing us faster than New York Times. If something doesn't change, it's all gonna go in vain. We all gonna be in a grave, one by one, still enslaved. I pray to God our melanin sisters and brothers change. Reach out and help us, God, before it's too late. No more killing for gunplay. We have enough of that based on our race. Our race we've been running since slavery days. God save our people. God save our people. God save our people.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
On your mark, get set.
It's a beautiful song. Praise God.
They paved the way for us to win what they faced. We got the baton. Now it's time for us to take our place. On your mark, get set.
Hi, my name is Matt. I chose to be an independent journalist because this world is so full of hatred, so full of discrimination, so so lacking in love and understanding that we need the arbiters of justice like ourselves, the independent journalists and media reporters that cover the things that mainstream media likes to throw a narrative over. We are unbiased. We care about justice. We care about all social struggles. And we just want to see this country become a better place. America deserves to see unity and love and understanding on a national scale. So yes, support independent media.
And I want to start off by saying I'm black and I'm proud. President Abraham Lincoln proclaimed that all blacks in the Southern Confederate States would be freed. However, this didn't happen. It would take 2 years for Texas to free the slaves only because of the Union troops who would march into Galveston, Texas, proclaiming that all blacks were free and that they should be paid for their work. This date was June 19, 1865, and it would be celebrated and known as Juneteenth. Today, I'm here to celebrate alongside you the independence of Black Americans. I ask you, the city of Red Wing, the community, are we currently equals? It has been over 150 years since President Lincoln signed his proclamation, and yet we continue to fight for equality. As a society, if we ever want there to be true equality, then there is much work to be done. Did you know that a famous court case leading to the Civil War and the eventual abolition of slavery had its roots right here in Minnesota? According to the following August 2019 Star Tribune article entitled "Slavery Made Its Mark Here in Minnesota," it states, one of the major proclamations that sparked the Civil War, the infamous Dred Scott case, began on Minnesota soil. The litigation ruling that African Americans had no rights, that warranted respect, that slaves were property, not persons entitled to legal protection, and that it was unconstitutional to bar or limit slavery even outside of the South. This case was known as the Scott versus Sanford case. This case was so important that it made its way to the U.S. Supreme Court. Their decision in this case was widely deemed to be the worst decision to ever be made by the Supreme Court. The article then goes on to state Scott subsequently sued for his freedom, claiming that his bondage was legally terminated because he had lived for a long time in a free area, the pre-1858 statehood territory of Minnesota. This part of the country had been designated by early federal law, the Northwest Ordinance of 1787, as off limits to slavery, a designation confirmed by the Missouri Compromise of 1820, which barred slavery in the northern portion of the 1803 Louisiana Purchase. Before statehood in 18 state for the sake of tourism and other economic interests. I think that it is hard for many of us to think that Minnesota could have been a slave state once upon a time. Surely back in 1860, this could have been a possibility. The reasoning behind this was that Southerners wanted to cross through the state without the risk of getting their slaves taken away. According to an article by KARE in June 2020, and a book titled Slavery's Reach by Christopher Lehman, it states in 1860, Minnesota had just elected a Republican governor because the Republican Party opposed slavery. Lehman said Southerners were worried that if they continued visiting, their slaves would be emancipated. Due to this, they decided to have a vote, which states 600 residents of Stillwater, St. Anthony, and St. Paul signed a petition. A proposal went to the state legislature but failed. The vote was 29-5 in the Senate and 51-18 in the House. The votes weren't even close, and the majority of the Minnesota legislature that voted yes was only because they were making money by doing business with slaveholders. After slavery was abolished, many places became a sundown town, which was a place that was an entire community or even a county that for decades was all white on purpose. These towns would make it nearly impossible for Black Americans to live their lives in peace. Several Minnesota towns were sundown towns, including cities in Goodhue County, Red Wing, and Pine Island. they would intimidate and physically remove the black families out of town with enough force that they wouldn't want to return. These Jim Crow laws were ways to segregate not only blacks, but also other minorities from being part of the community. Towns like these made it impossible for minorities to put roots and create a homestead for their families, which is why there is a lack of diversity in many areas. This negative thinking about blacks and other minorities being out after dark to cause trouble is why, to this day, we have racial profiling. Our community has years of embedded negative stereotypes about minorities that need to be eradicated and replaced with richness minorities bring to our community. How could someone be so cruel? How could someone watch people just run out a family of people out of town? How could they just let something so inhumane happen? This will never be fully understood. Due to Juneteenth and much more history, we have been able to evolve and create much more diversity in culture and let people be seen as people, not property. It gives us a chance to be seen more than the color of our skin, but as the person we choose to be. Happy Juneteenth.
Cracks and holes, acid rain falls upon those signs and lights. Further confuse the blind. Abuse, obtuse, struggle is defined. The new plantations are cities, the red line communities, the fast foods and retail hospitality. The suburbs are kept running by the service of those living in the ghetto. The suburbs are the grounds of which all the American dreams, so-called realities lie. The suburb wasn't actually meant for you and I. The suburb was meant to be white. The long mazes of pavement, old malls, new strips of corporate hospitals and high-end fat drip. Dispensaries, roundabouts but barely any bus stops. Uber your ass here and I want my service with a smile. I don't care how hard it was for you to get here. The suburbs, the new era of slavery, isn't one you can just blatantly see. The new era of smile and keep working, while we just barely keep you alive by any means. The new rules are the same old dressing in blue. They all the same, and y'all have been taken for fools. New clothes won't help you fit in if you don't have the knowledge to understand the rules. You are still a fool, and your penny for your thoughts got you nowhere but rule. The new plantation is the playgrounds they feel they can roam, come and go when they want, build and demolish just for fun. New projects to rid their eyes of the old projects. We are not your projects. We are not your sheep. And the walls you try to bind us with won't hold us all. We ain't all asleep. Rail lines with low clearance, abandoned transportation plans, interstate segments, neighborhoods, sparks racial debates. And when we flex and demand room, we thought to be unruly, wrong, and unjust. Who is gonna stand and call these lies as such? The game has been had too long. The plantation is an experiment. Everyone knows it's wrong and has been shown. And the world has taken notice. The world changes focus, and we're left to flex. The new plantation is a new plantation at best. Cracks and holes, acid rain falls upon those signs and lights. Further confuse the blind, abuse, obtuse, struggle is defined.